Hi, this week we were supposed to focus on the reading and writing strategies for the go-to strategies, the article from last week. So I decided with my first grade ELs to work on the picture walk strategy. I think it's a great strategy, not only for ELs, but also all the students in my class. I gave them all a grade level text and asked them to just look through the pictures and then guided them with questions by asking what they thought would happen next, what they predicted in the story, what they noticed in the story, using vocabulary words that they could use. For example, the story was about a hat and two children climbing to find the hat that had blown away. So we talked about the word hat and finding the hat, and then actually after we looked in the pictures, we went to find words such as hat in the text, so the students were familiar with that. I thought it went really well and the students were comfortable finding the word hat. We did run out of a little bit of time, so in the future I might just do the looking for the words and pictures on one day and then actually reading the full text the next day in small group. But overall I thought it went really well, and the ELs really picked up on the language and were able to identify and predict what was coming next in the story. For writing, I love using graphic organizers, especially for the young learners. It really helps them use pictures or words. I found this strategy on page 62 of the strategies document. Sorry, the picture walks was on page 57 if you're looking for it. This was on page 62, and I just had the students, we read a story, If You Take a Mouse to School, and they had what he does first and then what he's going to want to do next. So we went over how it's just a picture. If you give a mouse your lunchbox, he's going to want a sandwich. If you give the mouse building blocks, what's he going to want to do? And we went over the first two together, so they were able to kind of see me fill it in. And then if you give a mouse, if he wants to write a book, what is he going to want next? And they were able to either draw a picture or write the words. And I found this really helpful as a guide to get them started, because the next day they actually did a sequencing activity with the same story, and they were able to flip it over and use ideas to help them sequence the story in order. I thought it was a great way for the ELs to use pictures to help them guide them in their writing, as well as words to kind of pair the story together. One negative I found was that there was only one class text. In the future, I would love for all the students to have their own text, so they would be able to go back in the story and actually identify the words of the story. In one of our articles this week called Using Sheltered Instruction to Support English Learners, the authors talk about how important it is to share the learning objectives with our students. I found that it was really, really important to let the students know on the first day that this was a sequencing activity, and that the next day they would be responsible for doing the first, next, then last writing portion of it. So hopefully they were able to understand the first part built on the second part, and that they would be responsible for it in the future. Overall, I think both lessons in reading and writing went really well for my ELs, and that they were able to grow academically and confidently.